Today is July 22nd, 2019. I am interviewing Micheal Vranich at the Butler VA Medical Center in Butler, PA. Mr. Vranich is 99 years of age and was born on November 2nd, 1919. My name is Chuck Jennings, the interviewer. I am being assisted by Kurt Essman, the videographer. Mr. Vranich, what branch of services were you in?
Army and the Air Force.
And what was the highest rank you achieved?
Sergeant.
And where did you serve?
Camp Stewart, Georgia, and Greenville, South Carolina, around Camp Micheal.
And you finally made it over to Central Europe.
Yes, sir.
In France.
Right.
During the Korean War, you were stationed in the United States.
Yes.
Before we go into your military service, let's start back at high school. Where did you grow up and go to high school at?
Went to high school, Oliver High School, and left there. Went to Allegheny Vocational Trade School to learn the machinist trade.
Now, when you were in high school, were you doing anything particular?
We were just learning how to run different machines in the school itself.
And you graduated in what, 37?
Around 37, yes, 36, yes.
Now, tell me about how that worked in your trade school. Did you spend all day in school, or did you go to work, or how did that work?
I'd work 2 weeks and go to school 2 weeks. And did that for about a year and a half, and was offered a job and went to work.
Now, when you went to work, some of the machines you worked with were what, like lathe and...
Lathe, drill press, boring mill, and most any machine you could possibly think of, it belongs to a machine shop.
Now, that was in roughly 37, so the economy was just beginning to pick up in 38 and 39 because of the war.
Yes.
Roosevelt
Right.
Lend-Lease program. Now, when 42 came along, when did you hear about Pearl Harbor, and how did you hear about Pearl Harbor?
I heard part about Pearl Harbor on radio after it was bombed by the Japs.
Did you have any concept where Pearl Harbor was, or?
Never knew anything about it.
So, as a machinist, you continued on working. You got a deferment from the company.
Yes.
And as you went on, is there anything particular that you did towards the military war effort and making particular things?
Yeah, we were making magnesium castings for some sort of mechanical thing that's protecting the city of Pittsburgh. I just can't think of what that really was.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, some of the other things you had to take care of there, it was your crane. What was going on with your crane all the time?
Well, cranes they'd wear out because we had 9 cranes in the foundry alone, and they were always on the move, making castings, and the crane would, the shafts would break, and then we'd have to make a new shaft, put keyways in it or couplings, and replace it on the crane that broke down.
And also, you made the item to which you were going to make copies of too.
Yes, yes.
It escapes me what that's called, but basically you would make the item, whatever it was, on your machines, mill them down, and
Yes.
then they'd make the casting off of that.
Right, right.
So you were very precise in what you did.
Yes, yes.
So, like, how many days a week would you work?
Well, I would work at least 5 days a week, and maybe half a day Saturday, unless it was a major breakdown, and we at times work through the weekend, so that the department is running full week.
So, during that time, you had your deferment, and you decided to give it up. Why did you give your deferment up?
Well, I had a deferment, and I really didn't realize that I had a deferment, but after the months went by, I asked somebody about it, and they said, oh, yes, as a matter of fact, it's going to be renewed. And I felt, well, it's time for me to do something for my country, so I decided to disregard the deferment and take the call that I expect any day and go into the service.
So, where did you get over to Pittsburgh then, to the federal building, or?
The federal building, yes, sir.
And tell me about how that worked, or what service you got to pick, or tell me what went on during that period of time.
Well, I got to pick the service. They showed me the uniforms that the Air Force, the Marines, and the regular Army wears. So I just picked the regular Army. Figure I'm a draftee, and I'll take the regular Army.
So, once you had figured out your service, at some point in time, you had to come back and go through a physical, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And describe what that was like for you.
Well, you'd see a group of men standing there stark naked, you know, and you went, what the hell's this all about, you know? But you've seen things like that, you know, but I've never seen it in such a great bunch. It could be a couple hundred men. And I guess some guys were embarrassed and others weren't, but just, you know, walking around naked. So, but you get used to it, you know.
So you ask you to turn your head and cough?
Turn your head and cough, yeah, right.
Once you completed that, they found you fit.
Yes,
didn't
I
they?
was fit, yes.
So, what happened after that?
Then after they found you fit, then they asked you what branch of service you would like to serve in. And
So you chose the Army,
I chose the Army.
and what, they came back, the sergeant told you what? You made it.
You made it, yes.
Good
Right.
man.
Good man, yes, yes. You're ready to go.
So you went back home and told your parents.
Told my parents, and
What'd they say about that?
well, they didn't care for it. They cried, you know. Their second son was already in. Now the first son's going to leave, and makes it more difficult for them.
Where did your brother serve at?
He served at Olmsted Field here in near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
So he chose the Army Air Corps.
He chose the Army Air Corps, yes, sir.
So, when it came time to leave your parents, did they go with you down to the train, or?
Well, my dad wanted to get down with me, but I told him no. So I said, I'll take the streetcar myself on Beaver Avenue, Beaver and Nixon Street, and get to the courthouse and by myself.
Did they march you down to the,
They marched us down, yeah. I don't know how good we did as a bunch of soldiers, recruits, but I guess we managed.
So, once you got on the train, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind?
I think on the train going from there to
Indian Time Gap?
Indian Town Gap, at least I was, tears in my eyes, you know. Thinking what lies ahead in the future, you know.
So, once you got to Indian Town Gap, what went on there? Did you get your clothing, or did you
We
go to?
got clothing, and they took us out occasionally for how to, parade rest and different commands at ease and crap, you know, like that.
At some point, they decided to take you on a run.
They took us on a run, and it wasn't bad, but those that weren't physically fit had a rough time. Some were overweight at times, you know. I was always tall and thin, able to compete in sports.
So, because you did so well on the run, what'd they say to you?
Well, they gave us notice, and within 2 weeks we'll be leaving and stuff, you know, like that, for a couple of days. But then, as I mentioned before, On the application, it says that you speak a foreign language, so they asked me what language do I speak. Then the next day I had to report to headquarters, and they asked me, did I ever think of joining the OSS, which is Office of Strategic Service, like spy work. I said I never gave it a thought and never knew anything about it. But I guess if I had the chance to go, maybe I'd take it, But they never talked to me about it again after that.
Well, a gentleman came in, gave you a book.
Yeah,
They
he
asked you
gave
to
me
read the book.
Read the book, and I read the book, and they said, oh, he said, you read pretty good. Can you speak it that good? I said, yes. So then we start conversing. And he said he graded me as doing very good, but never heard nothing about it. And then I ended up down Camp Stewart, Georgia. Even there, nobody mentioned a word about it.
So at Camp Stewart, what other things did you learn at Camp Stewart? Was it just basic infantry then?
Basic infantry training, yes. Firing a gun and taking guns apart. Went to school for small weapons school for about a month. Completed that.
And what did your officer tell you once you completed your weapons school?
Well, an officer told me if I could give a class to a group of people in the auditorium. I says, I don't think I'm built for that, to be a school teacher. It takes a little bit of guts and nerve to stand up in front of a class and talk, but I just couldn't do that. So I gave him all my notes I had, and he gave the class, and I attended the class. I said I could never do as much as he did. And a lot of guys got a lot of information from my books through him. But something that I just couldn't do.
So at some point after Camp Stewart, did you go through the infiltration course to Camp Stewart?
Went infantry training.
What happened there?
Well, one of the guys was an officer. He was firing his weapon, the carbine weapon, rifle, while the machine guns were firing. But the machine guns are limited. They're raised at a certain angle so nobody gets hurt. But he was firing his gun at rapid speed, and I guess the barrel got hot, and the bullets were just flying around. And he shot one of these soldiers. And what happened after that, I really don't know.
No, the lieutenant, he didn't get any discipline. He probably got yelled at.
To the best of my knowledge, there was no discipline. No.
So, did you go to Camp McCall first, or did you go to Benning first?
Went to Camp McCall.
Okay.
With all our training at Camp McCall.
And what exactly was that training involving?
Exercise, going through the obstacle course every day, every morning around, say, 6 a.m. before breakfast, and going out after breakfast. And during the whole time we were there, training every day, making us rugged bunch of guys,
So is that where you got introduced to gliders?
That's where I got introduced to gliders, and that was an experience. Never knew what a glider was until the first one that I was in.
So tell me about how the gliders were set up.
Gliders were set up, they were pulled by either a C-46 or C-47 cargo ship plane. And they would pull two at a time with a nylon rope that stretches. And then they teach you how to tie down parts, the Jeep or the trailer in the glider or other equipment, mounted to the floor. And most of the times, if you're going through a field, which we did a few times, the gliders would flip and some guys would get injured. It was a hazardous affair.
Now, did you make extra money for that?
Yes, we got, just like the paratroopers, I think it was $50 a month extra. And we could all use that. Yeah.
So, once you, did you get any time on leave to go anywhere off base when you were
Oh,
there?
yes, after that, we were able to go back on base, or say if you want to go someplace, visit a city in the weekend, you were on your own, you knew what you wanted to do.
Did you pull any KP during that
I
period?
pulled KP, yes, a number of times, yes.
What were you the expert of? What did you like to do?
I like to do most anything. A couple of times I pulled officers KP, and I was serving the officers the meal that they were supposed to get. That was much better than, but even the food was better.
You were good at potatoes, weren't you? You liked
I
to...
did a lot of peeling potatoes,
Did a
yes.
lot of
Oh,
peeling.
yeah, bushels at a time, bagsfuls at a time.
So, how many glider drops would you say you did in practice, if you recall?
Well, I would say, well, half a dozen times took a ride with them. They're real nice to ride, real quiet,
Till they come down?
till they come down, and then what happens is you're praying that nothing happens.
Yeah, they were just canvas and aluminum, weren't they?
That's all. Yeah. Made out of tubing, yes, and canvas, yeah.
They had the pilot and the co-pilot
Pilot
up
and
front.
co-pilot, yes.
So how, did they train those gentlemen differently than the rest of the crew, or how did that come about?
Well, we weren't trained at anything special, but you could sit up in front with the pilot. As a matter of fact, they say that when they're used in combat, that the non-commissioned officer in charge, in case something happens to the pilot, he takes over. But we were never showed anything about control anything.
Never showed anything.
Nothing.
If he had to come down, he had to do it.
Right, yeah.
So, at some point, you got to come home for a week or en route to, when you went up to New Jersey? So tell me about that time that you got to come home for a little bit before you went overseas.
I used to come home, say, on a weekend, drive up with different guys in different cars, and I would usually drive the car at nighttime till we got on the turnpike. Then somebody else would take over because it would be early in the morning. It'd be daylight. I guess the guys figured they couldn't see too well at nighttime. But my eyes were always good when I was younger.
So then when you got home, would you just go and eat some of Mom and say hi, Mom, and what'd you do?
Go eat, say hello to Mom and eat some of her food, and go to night clubbing on the weekend. To go maybe Kennywood Park in the summertime and dance and stuff like that, or go one to the nightclubs and have a couple of beers.
So at some point, you moved, the whole unit boarded a troop train and headed on up to New Jersey.
Yes.
And you boarded a transport. What kind of transport was it?
It was I think myself, it was a transport that the commanding general rode on to Europe on, because the rest of the planes boats had us encircled, so we were pretty well protected.
You were a flagship.
Flagship, yes.
So tell me about the crossing. It was in January, wasn't it?
Crossing was pretty rough, yes. There was quite a few of guys spitting over the railings, and vomiting, puking, yeah.
Now, tell me about the trays in mealtime.
Well, the trains, you say?
Trays.
The trays in the mill? Well, the trade was good. I enjoyed it. I got to be a skilled machinist at the end, so it wasn't too bad.
I mean, the trays that you'd be eating, and during the weather, you get the next guy's tray.
Yes, now you get the next guy's tray, because the weather is so bad, and they're spitting and puking in the trays. So you didn't feel like eating after that. You just walk away from the standing table.
It was a bit chilly during that period of time crossing, wasn't it?
Pretty chilly, yeah.
So at some point, the captain said something about training.
And the captain says, instead of training, doing exercise on the ship, we will cease as of now. So all we did was just later on, while we was on the ship going across to Europe, to Southampton, England.
Now, you were only there for a day, were you not?
Yes, yes.
You didn't get a chance to go to
Didn't get a
England.
chance to debark the ship.
The following day or so, you went over to France.
We went over to France and we landed in Southampton, and from there they trucked us to part of it, and the rest was by 40 and 8.
Now, you went to Le Havre in France.
We went to Le Havre in
Yeah,
France, and from there by train and by truck to Auxerre, France, Paris, near Paris.
Now, was your equipment already over there, or how did your equipment catch up with you?
The equipment caught up to us. It was already, the trucks were loaded, and we picked it up after we got into Auxerre.
So, tell me about the 40 and 8 cars.
40 and 8 cars, nothing but, they used to haul cattle in them to the different parts of the city, and all we had on the floor, we slept on the floor on the hay that they had in them. And they made a lot of noise, no comfort, none whatsoever. But we managed.
Now,
And at one time, in France, they haul their wine that they make in big drums, big cars that are shaped like a barrel. And somebody, whoever it was, the Lord only knows, made a hole in one of the big wine cargo type of a barrel, and wine was coming out. So thousands, I guess, or hundreds of GIs heard about it, and everybody went up there getting wine in their canteen.
later on, they weren't real happy about it, were they?
The officers weren't happy about it. No, they didn't care for it. Nobody knows who did it, but somebody did it. But those of us who got the wine, we appreciated it.
They wanted to court-martial the whole train there, didn't
Yeah,
they?
they wanted to, but the general said that wouldn't be right.
So, when you finally got off the train, where did you end up in France? Oh, I'm sorry, you went by Paris.
Yeah.
You got to see it as it went by.
Well, no, I went to Paris on a pass once. They'd take us up on the weekend, by truck, and would stay there all day. And at nighttime, they would take us back to Auxerre.
When you were on the train, I was referring to, you got to see Paris go by as you were on your train heading to...
Oh, yes, yeah, we did heading by, yes, you'd see Paris, yeah.
So you finally got to your destination, you unloaded.
Yes.
Was all your equipment there, or was it at an airfield?
The equipment was there, and the trucks were unloaded. They were all in the barracks, and that was it. We picked our barracks up, and each of us picked up a bed, and we took over the compound where the German Air Force was staying. We took over that compound, our battalion.
So it wasn't like in the other camps where you're sleeping in tent on the ground.
No, we had regular bunk beds, yes.
So it was pretty good living.
Yeah, it was pretty good living.
So how did they heat that area? It was pretty large areas. How would they heat it?
They had little stoves that the Air Force used, German Air Force. They used to burn wood. And the maintenance people from Paris, that lived in the town that the government hired, they would take care of that,
Oh, so they'd bring in the wood, cords of wood for you?
Right, yes.
All you had to do is stoke it.
Yes.
So is there anything else that sticks into your mind during that period of time when you were in France?
We used to go to church. If you want to go to the Catholic church, we went to the Catholic church.
Now, explain about the church. Describe it.
The church was old, and Lord knows how old it really was. The pews that you sat in were made out of stone, and they were worn. had the crown of, like a man's buttocks. I used to, and how old that church was, I haven't the slightest idea.
So, did you ever see any USO shows come through?
Well, you would see them, yeah, they'd have them. And they'd have a big field, they'd have the USO shows. And I don't think I ever went to any one of the shows.
I was going to say, any big names?
Some, but not real big names, no.
So, describe going to Paris.
Paris was an experience, yeah. They had all the statues, it was beautiful. The Eiffel Tower, we were able to go up to the first tier, because the top tier, they use that as a radio hookup for the armed forces. And I asked one of the guys in the city, where is Place de Pigalle, and that's where the women used to hang out. And he asked me, why would I want to go there? I said, just to see it. And then he told me, you just go up here a couple of blocks, make a turn, and that's Place de Pigalle. I went up there, looked at it, just an ordinary place, of Paris.
But he spoke very good English.
And he spoke very good English.
That was kind of set
I thought
you back.
maybe he was an Englishman. I really don't know.
So, you only got to go to Paris at one time?
One time, yes.
One time?
Yes.
So, where you were stationed, there were some people who spoke your
Yes.
Croatian. Tell me about your...
In this town, Auxerre, I used to ask the people, are there people here that are Croatian as I am? And they would think about, oh yes, then they would take me to the people, then I would converse with them. And I spoke, I spoke Croatian, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Did they ever invite you in and give you some food, or did you ever eat at their house, or?
Yes, they would do that. They would invite you in and give you the food, something to eat, just like as you would do in your own home,
So the populace was very friendly towards the
Very
GIs.
friendly. They loved the GIs, yes. And to give you a glass of wine and to drink.
So, at some point, the war came to an end.
War came to an end.
And you didn't have it quite enough time, so they were scheduling you for Japan.
Japan. So they sent us home, and we were home for a couple of weeks. And while we were home, the war in Japan was over. So then we waited a few more days, and we were notified to report back to camp, reported back to camp. And a couple of days later, they start shipping us out,
Well, let's tell you how you took a train back up to Camp Lucky Strike.
Right.
And the camps were named after cigarette brands.
Yes.
Then from there, you sailed across. Now, was the weather any better going across later on in this?
Well, the weather was cold when we left, very cold. But it was better whenever we came back.
Now, as you came in the harbor, did you see the Statue of Liberty?
Yes, you could see the Statue of Liberty, yes.
What were you feeling? What were you thinking?
Glad to be home. It made a nice picture.
So then you got off that thing about getting discharged and
Yes,
everything like that.
right.
So you came back to your original job?
Yes, I went back to American Standard where I worked. I served my apprenticeship there as a machinist, and I worked there until they closed the plant down. As a matter of fact, the reason they closed it, they had to extend the penitentiary, Western Penitentiary, and they took over the property for the penitentiary.
Now, when you first came back, they were pretty nice about it. They said, well, take a couple weeks off before you start, and they were pretty nice about
Yes.
coming back. And
yes.
Yeah, some places were
Yeah.
not so nice.
Right.
So, somewhere along in that period of time, July 2nd and 49, what happened in that date?
Well, I got married.
And what was her name?
Mary Frances Stefanich. Yeah, she was also Croatian, of Croatian extraction.
So,
She was from Youngstown, Ohio.
how many years did you spend with her?
Been July 2nd of this year would have been 70 years that we were married, and she passed away in latter part of February of this year.
From that reunion, how many children did you have?
We had 5 children, 3 girls. You mean myself or my family? Oh, yeah, we
You
had
and your,
2 boys and 3 girls.
Okay.
5 children.
and what were their names?
One was Anita,
That was the oldest.
that's the oldest, and Kathleen, she was the middle girl, and Julianne, she was the youngest. She became a nurse, and Anita became a school teacher, retired school teacher, and Kathleen, she got married and she raised her own family.
There's John and Mark.
And John and Mark, my 2 sons, yes.
And
John became in sales, and Mark was a school teacher, retired school teacher.
and how many grandchildren do you have?
We had 10 total
And
grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Yes.
but that was not the end of your military service, was it?
Then the Korean deal broke out a couple of years later, and for some foolish reason, I guess, I don't know, really don't know myself, a few of us decided to go up to the Greater Pittsburgh Airport and sign up in the Air Force.
So you signed up in the Air Force,
Signed up in the Air Force.
and where were you stationed?
Ended up in Greenville, South Carolina, in the 375th Troop Carrier Wing.
Now,
We were there for 2.5 years, and things settled within Korea itself, and then we were all discharged from the 375th Wing, Troop Carrier Wing.
but you were cadre. You were a sergeant in charge of
Yes,
training guys.
I was training recruits, they said, and we trained recruits for about 3, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that. And there was no more coming in, so I went back to my job as a machinist in a machine shop.
Well, let's go back to your training. The Air Force training is a little bit different than your old Army training, wasn't it?
Yes.
They had it pretty easy?
Well, it was, in comparison, yeah, it was climbing ropes and going through the obstacle courses was much tougher than what the Air Force was. All we did in the Air Force was I trained recruits, and we had no obstacle courses. What we did have were that most anyone could do, you know, without getting hurt.
So you were the guy who kicked that trash can down the barracks in the morning when getting them up.
Getting them up, yes, yes.
So tell me about the loan shark and what happened there.
Well, the loan shark, he was always borrowing money. And here I found that the guy that he was borrowing money from, this fellow had to pay the guy who gave the money double, you know, back. So when it come time he borrowed money off of me, he was going to pay me double. I said, wait a minute. All I want is my money back. You don't have to pay me double. So in the meantime, I went home for a few days, came back, and the buddy that slept next to me asked, he says, Mark, he said, what time is it? And I said, you have a wristwatch on. I said, but I looked at my clock and I gave him my wristwatch, I gave him the time. And here in the meantime, I found out, just by talking, that this wristwatch was raffled off by the NCO club, and I think it was a $500 wristwatch, and he gave it to him to hold for me, but he didn't tell me that right away. Then he gave it to me, you know. So I went over to the guy and I told him, I says, I don't want your wristwatch. Word. He says, I have one, I don't need it. So I said, well, I'll give you a few bucks for it. So I gave him a few bucks for it, whatever it was, I really don't remember. And I kept the wristwatch. And whenever I came home the next time, I gave it to my dad. And whatever happened to it, I really don't know.
That was the last time you saw that
That was
wristwatch?
the last watch I saw, yeah. Maybe he sold it, I don't know.
Well, yeah, from South Carolina, you drove home
Yes.
on some weekends.
Yes.
And that was like an 8-hour trip,
That was a little better than 8 hours, maybe around 10-hour trip.
because there were no interstates at that time.
No interstates.
They were
none
all
whatsoever.
little towns.
Yes.
And that's when you like to drive at nighttime.
I drove at nighttime, yes, and the other guys would drive during the day from the entrance to the turnpike to Pittsburgh.
And the turnpike was not completely finished at that time,
No,
was it
no,
not?
it just went maybe halfway or three-quarters away.
Breezewood, I think it was Breezewood at
Yes,
that time.
Breezewood, yeah.
So you spent 2.5 years there. You got out of the service, and again, you went back to
American Standard.
again.
Yes,
And they said it was okay because you served.
yes, yes,
And thereby you got married and
right.
everything else happened.
Everything else happened.
So at this time, is there anything that we have not covered that you would like to add?
Such as,
Anything that comes to your mind we didn't cover during the interview that you would like to add? It doesn't have to be anything. I just asked that question because sometimes, during the interview you have different thoughts that came back and
yeah.
nothing?
Well, I was glad to be home. I figured that's enough of military life. And I just went back to work and worked my first week, rather 2 weeks of vacation. That was an event that I came home, we were sitting there at the table, and my mother was cooking. And this is after I came from camp
In North Carolina?
from North Carolina.
Or South Carolina, I'm
Camp
sorry.
McCall, yeah. And I came home and we're talking about vacation. My father asked, he said, where would we like to go on vacation? And my mother was at the stove. She says, I'd like to go to Arizona. And I almost choked on the food I was eating, And I asked my mother, do you know where Arizona is? She says, I really don't care, but I have a brother there that I haven't seen in maybe 15, 20 years. I'd like to see him, So we left that night, took a trip, went to Arizona, drove all the way through.
Wow.
Yep. And at that time, even the roads going to Arizona, no hotels, no motels, maybe every 100, 200 miles apart. But all you had to worry about was gas. But we managed. We stayed there for 2 weeks, then we come back home. Yeah.
At this time, I'd like to thank you for your service to the nation. I truly, truly mean that. For what you did, what you sacrificed to this nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.